so you're going on, that's great. For each of these examples, try and do these three things. Number 1, identify the economic player. Who's making the choice? Number 2, are there any external costs or benefits based on that choice? And 3, identify who pays the cost or who reaps the benefit. So example number 1, a manufacturing plant causes air pollution. Who's making the choice? Number 2, what is the external cost or benefit? And then number 3, who pays for that? So let's go over our answers. Number 1, who is making that choice? That is the plant. Number 2, what is the external cost or benefit? Well, the external cost is that they're polluting everything around them. And then number 3, who pays for that? It's going to be people who are within the area that's getting polluted. Perhaps their air has become unbreathable. Perhaps their water has become poisoned. So you can see that here the plant is making a choice to not really clean up their mess, yet it's negatively affecting other people. Number 2, an on-campus fraternity decides to have a late-night party on a Saturday night in a neighborhood where there are also elderly people and parents with young children. So go ahead and stop the podcast now and think about your answers. All right, potential answers there. Number 1, who's making the choice? That's going to be the on-campus fraternity, aka Animal House. What is the external cost or benefit? Well, the external cost is going to be to the people in the neighborhood. They probably don't want people screaming late at night or running around naked, throwing beer cans all over the place and doing stupid things. So the elderly people and the families are dealing with the external cost. And then number 3, who ends up paying for it? Well, the people in the neighborhood. They have to suffer through this event in their lives. Example number 3, the unregulated use of antibiotics by doctors has led to the emergence of powerful antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Basically, doctors are overprescribing antibiotics whenever somebody gets sick. And then the little critters, the bacteria that they are designed to kill, start to build up a resistance to this, and then simple antibiotics stop working against relatively simple diseases. So go ahead and stop the podcast and think through your answers. Okay, number 1, who's making the choice? This is going to be the doctors who are overprescribing antibiotics for something that doesn't need that. Number 2, what is the external cost or benefit? Well, the external cost is that now the next time somebody gets sick and they go to the doctor and say, can you just give me penicillin? That doesn't work anymore. The doctors have to crank up the level of antibiotic they give them. So the patient is dealing with the negative externality or negative cost. And then who's paying for it? Again, it's going to be the patient who now has to deal with maybe a different type of antibiotic or 2 rounds of antibiotics or something like that. It's not a simple fix anymore because somebody else made a wrong choice about how to prescribe. All right, example number 4, an individual chooses to fireproof his home, which means that his neighbor's risk of fire is also reduced. Go ahead and take a minute and think about your answers. All right, just in case we thought everything created a negative cost, here we have a positive externality or positive benefit. So number 1, who's making the choice? That's going to be the homeowner who is choosing to fireproof his or her home. What is the positive benefit? That's going to be to the other neighbors. So the neighbor's house is less likely to catch fire. That's actually good for his neighbors because then their house is less likely to catch fire because it's near something that's probably not going to burn. Who ends up benefiting from this? Not only the homeowner, because his home is fireproofed, but also the people around him. They are also benefiting from that guy's choice. Last example here, number 5, a parent vaccinates his child to keep the child from contracting a disease. So they go to the doctor, they get the measles, mumps, rubella shots, they get the chickenpox vaccine, they get whatever other vaccines are out there right now. How would this matter? Go ahead and stop the podcast and think about your answers. Let's go ahead and consider some answers here. Number 1, who is making the choice? Well, the parent of the child is choosing to take that kid into the doctor and say, yep, give him all the preventative shots you can give him. Number 2, what is the positive externality? Well, if that kid does not contract measles, mumps, rubella, whatever, they are less likely to spread that to other kids. So that actually helps other kids, as well as the kid who's been given the shots, and it helps society as a whole. And we're not going to debate the politics of vaccinating your kids or not vaccinating your kids, and do vaccinations lead to other diseases. That's not the point. That's kind of a health class kind of thing. But just economically here, if that person chooses to vaccinate their kid and that kid does not get measles, then they are not going to get other kids sick. And so who pays for this? Who benefits from this? Well, the original family who got the shots benefits because their kid won't get measles. But then kids around them in their classes, on their buses, on their sports teams also benefit because they are less likely to contract measles. So again, we have a positive externality in this case. So that's about all we have in sum for our discussion of costs, benefits, cost-benefit analysis, the idea of trade-offs or alternatives, that second place finisher in our list, which we're going to call the opportunity cost, and then the idea of externalities. When our choice affects more than just ourselves, that's an externality. Now, if it hurts somebody, that's a negative externality. If it actually helps somebody, that's a positive externality. So a lot of terms thrown at you guys right now. Think about what those are, conceptualize them a little bit, think about how they matter, think about a scenario that you might actually be weighing the costs and benefits and make it more realistic for yourself. That'll help you to remember that. As always, thanks for listening. Please bring in any questions, and we will see you in class soon. Thanks.